November 1975, London, England. Inside the offices of EMI Records, a cassette tape sat on the desk like a loaded weapon. The executives stared at it as if it might explode. In a way, it already had. 6 minutes, that's how long the song was. 6 minutes of what they called commercial suicide. No chorus, no structure, opera sections, hard rock, ballad, all crammed into one track that made absolutely no sense to anyone in that room. Except to one man, Freddie Mercury. The record label executives had just finished listening to it for the third time. The silence in the room was suffocating. Finally, one of them spoke. "This will never work. Radio won't play it. Stations need 3-minute songs. This is 6 minutes of disaster." But what those executives didn't know was that Freddie had already made his decision. This song would be released exactly as it was. Not a single second would be cut. Not one note would be changed. And if they refused to release it, Queen would walk away from EMI entirely. The battle for the most revolutionary song in rock history was about to begin. And Freddie Mercury was ready to risk everything. 6 months earlier, Rockfield Studios, Wales. The Welsh countryside was quiet, isolated, perfect for what Freddie had in mind. Queen had rented the entire studio complex for weeks. The cost was astronomical. The pressure was crushing. Freddie walked into the control room carrying pages of handwritten lyrics. His bandmates, Brian May, Roger Taylor, and John Deacon, looked at the sheets covered in Freddie's elaborate handwriting. Strange phrases, operatic references. Scaramouche, Galileo, Bismillah. "What is this, Fred?" Roger asked, squinting at the pages. "This," Freddie said, his voice steady and certain, "is going to change everything." Brian picked up one of the pages. "It's 3 different songs." "No," Freddie corrected. "It's one song. One complete vision. Trust me." But trust would have becoming expensive. The recording sessions stretched from days into weeks, into months. Freddie was obsessed with perfection. He demanded vocal overdubs that required the tape to be run through the machine so many times that the actual magnetic tape became transparent. You could literally see through it. The opera section alone took 3 weeks to record. Freddie, Brian, and Roger sang their parts over and over, layering harmony upon harmony, until there were 180 separate vocal tracks. The 24-track recording equipment of 1975 couldn't handle it. They had to synchronize multiple tape machines, a technical nightmare that had never been attempted before. "We're spending thousands of pounds per day." John reminded them, "EMI is going to have our heads." Freddie didn't care. "They'll understand when they hear it." But he was wrong. They wouldn't understand at all. The producer, Roy Thomas Baker, watched Freddie work with a mixture of admiration and terror. "I've never seen anyone so certain about something so uncertain," he later recalled. Freddie knew exactly what he wanted, even though what he wanted had never been done before. The recording costs climbed higher. £40,000, £50,000, then over £60,000, making it the most expensive single ever recorded at that time. Queen's manager, John Reid, was fielding increasingly angry calls from EMI executives who wanted to know what was taking so long and why the bills kept coming. But inside that studio, something magical was happening, something that would change music forever. They just had to survive long enough to finish it. Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any of the exclusive content that's coming up. And while you're there, leave that powerful like that helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. October 31st, 1975, EMI Records headquarters, London. The conference room felt like a courtroom. On one side, the 4 members of Queen. On the other, 5 record executives in expensive suits with expressions that said they'd already made their decision. The head of EMI, Ray Foster, sat at the head of the table. He'd listened to the completed recording of the song the band was calling their masterpiece. His face showed exactly what he thought of it. "Gentlemen," Foster began, his voice cold and businesslike, "we have a serious problem." Freddie sat perfectly still, his dark eyes fixed on Foster. He knew what was coming. "This song you've brought us, this Bohemian Rhapsody, it's commercially unviable. Radio stations play 3-minute songs. 3 minutes. This is twice that length. It has no chorus that repeats. There's an opera section that makes no sense. It's 3 different songs poorly stitched together. It's not 3 songs," Freddie said quietly. "It's one vision." Foster ignored him. "We've invested heavily in Queen. 3 albums, significant marketing costs. And now you bring us this?" He tapped the cassette on the table. "This is career suicide. We need to cut it down. Remove the opera section. Make it radio-friendly. 3 minutes maximum." The room went silent. Brian, Roger, and John looked at Freddie, waiting to see how he would respond. Freddie stood up slowly. His voice, when he spoke, was calm but carried an edge of steel. "We're not changing anything. Not one note. Not 1 second." Foster laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Then we're not releasing it. Simple as that." "Then we walk," Freddie said. "We'll take the song to another label, one that understands what we're trying to do." "You're under contract," Foster reminded him. "You can't just walk. Watch us." The tension in that room was suffocating. Queen had worked for years to build their career. 3 albums, constant touring. They were finally on the edge of major success, and Freddie was willing to throw it all away for one song. Brian May later described that moment. "I've never seen Freddie more certain about anything. He was willing to destroy everything we'd built if it meant protecting that song. That's when I knew it was truly special." The meeting ended with no resolution. Foster gave them an ultimatum: cut the song or find another label. They had 1 week to decide. As Queen left the building, Roger turned to Freddie. "You really ready to walk away from everything?" Freddie didn't hesitate. "If they don't believe in this song, they don't believe in us. We find someone who does." But finding another label wasn't going to be easy, and they were running out of time. November 8th, 1975, Capital Radio, London. Kenny Everett was one of the most popular radio DJs in Britain. He was also Freddie Mercury's friend, and Freddie was about to make a move that would either save the song or get everyone in serious trouble. Freddie arrived at the radio station carrying a cassette tape, just 1 copy. He walked into Kenny's studio during a commercial break. "Fred," Kenny greeted him warmly. "What brings you here?" Freddie handed him the cassette. "I need you to do me a favor, but you have to promise me something first." "Anything, love." "Promise you won't play this on air." Kenny looked confused. "Then why are you giving it to me?" "Just promise." Kenny promised. Freddie left, and what happened next became one of the greatest acts of deliberate sabotage in music history. Kenny Everett played the song 14 times over the weekend. He knew exactly what he was doing. By Monday morning, Capital Radio's phone lines were jammed with listeners demanding to know where they could buy this incredible new Queen song. Record stores were being flooded with requests for a single that hadn't been released yet. EMI executives arrived at work to find chaos. Their switchboard was overwhelmed. Radio stations across the country were calling, demanding copies of the song. Music journalists were writing about it, and it hadn't even been officially released. Ray Foster called an emergency meeting. He was furious. Who leaked the song? No one answered, but everyone knew it had to be Queen, or more specifically, Freddie Mercury. "Sir," one of the younger executives said carefully, "the demand is extraordinary. Every radio station in the country wants to play it. Stores are getting hundreds of requests per day." Foster stared at the reports in front of him. The numbers were undeniable. The song that he'd called commercial suicide was creating a demand unlike anything he'd ever seen. "It's still 6 minutes long," Foster said stubbornly. "Radio won't play it." "They already are," the executive replied. "Kenny Everett's been playing it all weekend." Foster's face turned red. He'd been outmaneuvered, and he knew it. Freddie Mercury had forced his hand in the most brilliant way possible. Create demand so overwhelming that EMI had no choice but to release the song exactly as it was. 3 days later, EMI announced that Queen's new single would be released on October 31st, 1975. The full 6-minute version, uncut, exactly as Freddie had intended. But the battle wasn't over. Now came the real test. Would the public actually buy it? November 20th, 1975, BBC Television Centre, London. Queen was scheduled to appear on Top of the Pops, the most-watched music show in Britain. But there was a problem, the big one. The song was too complex to perform live on television. The opera section, with its 180 vocal overdubs, was physically impossible to recreate with 4 people. They'd have to lip-sync to the recorded version, something that seemed to defeat the entire purpose of a live performance. Freddie had a different idea, one that had never been done before. "We make a video," he said during a band meeting. "A proper promotional film. Something visual that matches the music." In 1975, music videos didn't really exist, not the way we know them today. Bands appeared on television shows and performed live. That was it. The idea of creating a short film specifically for a song was revolutionary. They had a budget of £4,500 and 4 hours to shoot it. Director Bruce Gowers set up the studio with dramatic lighting. Freddie stood in the center, the other 3 band members arranged in a triangle behind him. The iconic shot that would become one of the most famous images in rock history was actually inspired by an old Queen album cover photo. The shoot was chaotic. The lighting kept overheating. The smoke machines weren't working properly. They were racing against time and budget constraints. But Freddie was in his element. He understood the visual aspect of music in a way that no one else did at that time. When Top of the Pops aired the video instead of a live performance, it was shocking. Nothing like this had ever been done on British television. The dramatic lighting, the operatic visual style, Freddie's intense stare directly into the camera. It was mesmerizing. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The next day, record stores across Britain reported selling out of the single within hours. EMI's pressing plants were running 24 hours a day, trying to keep up with demand. The song entered the British charts at number 47. The following week, it jumped to number 17. The week after that, number 1. And it stayed there for 9 weeks. Ray Foster, the EMI executive who had called it commercial suicide, watched the sales figures climb higher and higher. He never publicly apologized to Queen, but he didn't have to. The numbers spoke for themselves. In America, the song faced even more resistance. American radio stations had a strict 3-minute policy. Program directors looked at the 6-minute runtime and refused to play it. Queen's American label, Elektra Records, was pessimistic about its chances. But something strange started happening. Radio stations began receiving requests, hundreds of them, then thousands. Listeners who had heard about this incredible song from Britain were demanding to hear it. Some stations started playing it late at night, when the normal rules didn't apply. And listener response was extraordinary. One by one, stations began breaking their own rules. If a song was generating that much listener interest, they'd be foolish not to play it. By early 1976, the song was climbing the American charts too, eventually reaching number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100. The impossible had happened. The 6-minute song with no repeating chorus, with an opera section that made no commercial sense, had become one of the biggest hits in the world. December 1975. Freddie Mercury sat in his London apartment, surrounded by newspapers and magazines. Every publication in Britain was writing about Queen, about the song, about the revolution they'd started. But victory had come with a price. The relationships within Queen had been strained to breaking point during the recording. The months in the studio, the mounting costs, the pressure from the label, it had all created tensions that wouldn't fully heal for years. Brian and Roger had supported Freddie's vision, but there had been moments when even they wondered if he'd gone too far. Freddie's relationship with EMI would never be warm. They'd release the song, yes, but only because they'd been forced to. The label executives never forgave Freddie for outmaneuvering them, for making them look foolish. Future Queen releases would face additional scrutiny and resistance from EMI. And then there was the personal cost. Freddie had put everything into that song, not just technically, but emotionally. He'd never spoken about what the lyrics meant, and he never would. The song remained a mystery, intentionally ambiguous. Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? What was Freddie really asking? Years later, those close to him would suggest that the song was about identity, about transformation, about facing parts of yourself that terrify you. But Freddie took the true meaning to his grave. What we do know is this: creating that song changed Freddie Mercury. Before it, he was a talented singer in a successful rock band. After it, he understood his own power. He'd fought an entire record label and won. He'd broken every rule of commercial music and succeeded. He'd proven that artistic vision could triumph over business calculation. That confidence, that absolute certainty in his own artistic judgment, would define the rest of his career. But there was also a darker side. The stress of those months, the constant fighting, the financial pressure, it established patterns that would follow Queen for years. Freddie developed a reputation for being difficult, uncompromising, impossible to work with. Some of that was unfair, but some of it was earned. After Bohemian Rhapsody, Brian May reflected years later, Freddie knew he could win any argument by being more stubborn than everyone else. That was powerful. But it was also dangerous. 1. The music video they'd created almost as an afterthought became the template for the entire music video industry. MTV would launch 6 years later, built on the concept that Freddie and Queen had pioneered. But they never received proper credit for that innovation. And the song itself? It became more than just a hit. It became a cultural phenomenon, a song that defined a generation. A piece of music so unique, so ambitious, so perfectly executed that it transcended the boundaries of rock music entirely. But the people who created it were just 4 men in a studio, fighting with their record label, terrified they were about to destroy their careers, believing in something that no one else could see. 1991, 16 years after its release, after it had already become one of the most iconic songs in rock history, something impossible happened. The song returned to number 1. Freddie Mercury had died on November 24, 1991. The news shocked the world. He was only 45 years old. And in the wave of grief that followed, millions of people returned to the song that had defined his genius. In Britain, it re-entered the charts and climbed all the way back to number 1, becoming the first song in history to reach number 1 on 2 separate occasions, with the same version. The achievement was unprecedented. The song that record executives had called commercial suicide had become immortal. But here's the thing that those EMI executives never understood back in 1975. Freddie wasn't trying to make a hit song. He was trying to make art. He was trying to create something that would last, something that meant something, something that mattered. The executives saw a 6-minute song with no commercial potential. Freddie saw the future. Today, that song has been streamed billions of times. It's been featured in countless films, television shows, and commercials. It's been covered by hundreds of artists in dozens of languages. It's been analyzed by musicologists, studied in universities, celebrated as one of the greatest achievements in popular music. And yet, we still don't fully understand it. What does it mean? What was Freddie trying to say? He never told us. He left us with mystery, with beauty, with 6 minutes of pure artistic vision that refuses to be categorized or explained. The record executives who tried to destroy it are forgotten. The song is eternal. There's a lesson in that. In a world that demands everything be commercially viable, easily understood, quickly consumed, Freddie Mercury created something that defied all those rules. He bet everything on his own vision, knowing he might lose it all. And he won. Not just with commercial success, though that came too. He won by creating something that would outlive him, outlive all of us. Something that would still be played, still be loved, still be discussed decades after his death. That's what courage looks like. That's what artistic integrity means. That's what happens when you believe in something so completely that you're willing to risk everything to protect it. The 6 minutes of disaster became 6 minutes of immortality. And somewhere, somehow, Freddie Mercury knew that would happen all along. He always did. If this story of artistic courage and uncompromising vision moved you, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Share this video with someone who needs to hear about the power of believing in your own vision, even when everyone else says you're wrong. What's your favorite moment in this legendary song? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, the greatest art always comes from those brave enough to break the rules.